Hello there, it's Unstoppable Stiletsy, and we're going to be doing another Age of Empires 3 Wars of Liberty casted game today. So today we got ourselves a 2 versus 2 between, looks like Rommel and, who's that, Angel or Aniel or El Tiata, or all the other names are Juanito Peruano keeps giving himself. And he'll be facing off against Sask and Mandalore. Before we get started, let's check out the map real quick and see what it's going to offer the players. So this looks like a ESOC map. I think it's Chaco, Grand Chaco, ESOC Grand Chaco. I believe that's what it is. The biggest highlight of this map is all the Tupi settlements on it. In Wars of Liberty, they're called Caraja, but they're pretty much the same unit, right? A type of a really good native archer that's good against infantry, so definitely pick those up if you can. Otherwise, it's a pretty open, like prairie-like map with the little ponds, so a lot of ways you can end up getting raided on here, so you have to be really careful about that for sure. If you're going to do walling, it's going to cost you some wood to do, so just keep that in mind, okay? Let's get started. Alright, so on team 1 here, we got Rommel as the British, and Aniel is himself, Peru. You can't separate Angel from Peru, honestly. Like, he always picks Peru. Well, he doesn't always pick Peru, but it's like Toledo with Hispania, basically. It's like the signature item that Angel uses. And he does use it really well. He in fact abuses it to the point of death, actually. So yeah, Peru is a real nasty civ if you want to use them to their fullest extent. They got all these little special tricks to really hurt their opponents. Namely, they're great at hit and run tactics. This is because when one of their units dies, the other units in the vicinity, you know, they get this grave trigger, where a grave for that unit pops up and the other ones will gain a speed boost and a line of sight boost, allowing them to retreat very quickly. This also means in more aggressive situations, when you got the edge, if one of your units falls, your army will actually grow faster and be able to hunt down the enemy quicker. So it works both ways. That's sort of like the main combat bonus of Peru. In terms of the rest of the Peru civ, they also have this really sometimes lame defensive ability where they can take their villagers to Cholos and they can garrison them inside of any building, not just a town center. Note the little door icon here, they can actually go inside of this house. They can go inside of the barracks, they can go inside of the stable. This means Peru can safely get mines and hunts throughout the map a lot easier now. Whenever they need a house for population, they can put it near that hunt and just hide in there until the enemy goes away, right? Only problem, obviously, is if the enemy is actually willing to siege that house to get to those villagers, in which case you're going to need some army to back that up. However, you need to do that anyways, so that's really not a big deal. You just need to manage your army better, which we all need to do, not just anyone playing Peru. So yeah, I want to check their deck out while I'm here. So, this is very late gamey, you know, this is very favorable for later game excursions. We do have Casa de Molina. This is the same as Royal Mint, so it boosts all the coin gather rates, not just, you know, plantations, but also mining. Gran Cacao is same as Textile Mill, so it only benefits the plantation. We all know about Refridge. This card, by the way, is utterly useless here, so not even point in even mentioning this one. Fort, okay. Actually, in Baringo, which is one of the other names that Angel goes by, loves to use the fort a lot. He uses it as sort of like a stamp. Like, if you're attacking him and he needs to, like, stop the bleeding, he just puts the fort down and it saves him some time. He does that with me all the time. This is just a generally good card to have because it makes construction and buildings much more efficient. Also, the nice early game with Spice Trade, this just makes your hunting better too. It's kind of a mismatch in a way because you got Spice Trade, but you also got like full farming coverage too with Upper Lazera. So this is like sustainable agriculture. Then you got extractivism. This is the same as economic theory. So really, you got like a full mill and almost a full hunt in terms of upgrade coverage, which I find pretty interesting. Only combat card here, though, is Andean Attack. It's kind of understandable since Macheteros can't be upgraded beyond veteran upgrade for Peru. And sadly, well, not just for Peru, but also Brazil. They get like the weakest Macheteros in the game, pretty much. Which is kind of sad, you know. But it does affect their Boneros, which they can actually get to the Imperial Age. So if you wanted to make a lot of those, which Angel definitely does, I would have suggested getting combat down here too for that. But what can you do? Going for the Japanese wave. This is a pretty nice one for this map because, well, you got hunts throughout the map, right? Guess what you can do with Japanese immigrants? You can get those workers to construct some of their Japanese houses for you, which acts as shrines, which, hint, 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 Japan, they can gather, the animals can improve the trickle from those shrines. Yeah, that they took the whole Japan shrine concept and gave it to the Japanese immigrants. So yeah, that's really just a useful tool to use in your belt. As for his ally Rommel is going British, and he's going with a French marriage here. This means that his villagers will be 10% more expensive, but they'll gather 10% more efficiently as well. So they gain stats similar to the Coureur de Bois, making them really good gatherers overall. Unfortunately, they don't get the combat benefits of the Coureur de Bois, though. They just stay as like little Englishmen, you know, not French frontiersmen in that sense. They just get their gather right, which definitely helps you economically, but otherwise not too much. In terms of the Rommel deck, it's much more ready for combat. You know, we got just about all the H2 unit shipments here, good number of the ones in 3, a lot of rocket shipments for 4, but also a lot of economics, you know, sustainable agriculture, cigar roller, textile mill, refrigeration. We do have a lot of economic improvements here, so I mean, yeah, definitely 100%. There's a lot of eco options here, for sure. Also note, British can't get villager cards, so Colbertism is one of the alternatives you got, which Rommel ended up doing. I usually go with Colbertism first myself, and then usually capitalism or distributivism next if I don't need a unit shipment. More importantly though, what's going on the other side? Like, we got a Germany here with Mandalore. We've seen Mandalore fight Jeff with Germany before, and you know, he was a pretty decent combatant with it, right? He was able to hold his ground while his ally, which, Rommel with Maori, right, kind of fell apart there. So I think in this situation, Mandalore is going to be able to take advantage of the manor boom that you get with Germany. Their Mites-Cairn houses, all producing a free settler. Just a really good economy overall. And then when we look at the deck, this is, I don't know if it's the exact same deck he used last time, but it does look pretty close. I'm surprised he has the Royal Decrees without Bismarck model down here, because a big component of getting Berlin Conference is so you can actually upgrade and train your Landmoran units. So I don't know why he's keeping this here, unless he's doing it for like the unit shipments you get with the Royal Decree, in which case I'd be like, oh yeah, I'm fully on board with that. A lot of combat improvements though, like just about all the ones for the line infantry here. Has the one for the skirmisher. Jägerbusch gives skirmishers more multipliers against dragoons. Needle guns allows your line infantry or musketeers to shoot faster. Yeah, so this is a very combat-centric deck. Also a mercenary card here, the Hessian Schutzen. These have the same stats as the Jaeger from Definitive Edition, so nothing too different about this, honestly. Yeah, pretty much. And then for the last player we haven't talked about, Sask with Japan. Sask, I would say Japan's probably one of his best civ and one he's most signature for, so yeah, I think he's going to do pretty good here alongside Mandalore. If they play very turtle-like and very defensively, and they don't get into trouble too quickly, I think they'll do pretty well here. Only problem is, though, Angel's going to give you a hard time and try to bust your balls and pop your buns, basically. You know what I mean? He's gonna do it. He's gonna do it 100%. And I don't see Angel doing anything else at this point. Usually he'll either use Bernero. Oh, whoa, 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 whoa. Angel, pay attention, man. This is risky. This is very risky what just happened here. You know what just happened? Angel basically allowed the scouting explorer to use up his grenade toss. He has to wait an entire minute or 60 seconds to get another grenade throw out of all the grenadiers that toss their bombs. That's going to give him a distinct disadvantage against things like the Shiguma Musketeer as well as other infantry. It basically gives the Shigumas a much better fighting chance now that they're not going to have little bombs getting thrown at them. And it's quite a big difference too, since the grenade toss has multipliers against infantry, as you see here. It has 2 splash, it's crush. Yeah, it makes a huge difference whether you're throwing a bomb or you're just shooting with your musket, basically. It looks, and looking over there at that multiplier, it does look like a few of the Legion Piranhas do have their grenade toss still, fortunately. So yeah, maybe he's going to be alright. It looks like these new Piranhas that are coming in have their grenade throws ready. Mandalore's going to try to maneuver this with some Hussars. Fine choice. Especially since they nerfed the grenade throws to have a malice against cav units now. So these Hussars should have a bit of an easier time surviving these grenade throws now. The Redcoats need to take a more defensive stance and protect the Piranhas like this. This is what you need to do. You need to take some of the Redcoats and just move them to his side so you can better deal with the Hussar threat. Because what's happening now is Rommel isn't paying attention to his ally, who's clearly struggling here with his anti-infantry units. They're again slayed by the hand cavalry, which just happen to be really good against that type of thing. And as a result, he basically ended up losing all his grenadiers, and now Japan's infantry was able to dominate here because Japan can make skirmishers in H2, right? They get the Kie. Very strong multipliers against heavy infantry. British can also make skirmishers in H2, the Green Jacket, but its multipliers are a bit lopsided. It sacrifices some of its anti-heavy infantry power for anti-dragoon multipliers. So yeah, here's some of those Green Jackets right now. And what's going to need to happen here is Rommel is probably going to need to get some Green Jackets to deal with Japan. But this team is also going to have to come up with a plan to deal with Hussar if Mandalore plans on dedicating to Hussar. As it is right now, they really have no solution to Hussars here. You know, there was the Redcoats before, but unfortunately those have ceased to exist at this point. I'm going to have to look at Rommel right now to see what his plan is. So right now he's still queuing Green Jackets. His Green Jackets are completely in the open here, so they're going to get hacked down by sabers. Yeah, this is just really bad situation to end up in, honestly. Like, seriously. This is as bad as it gets, just having a line of skirmishers right in line with a bunch of Hussars. That's one way to lose your units for free. This tactic of Peru and British just fell apart. You know, much better coordination, I think, between Sask and Mandalore here. Sask doing the infantry, Mandalore providing cavalry support. That is the composition you can do, right? Japan adding in skirmishers and muskets, it counters cavalry, it counters heavy infantry, it counters dragoons. And then you add in Hussars from Germany to deal not only... Yeah, you can also raid with the Hussars too, like it's happened right here, but also that counters artillery, it counters skirmishers, pretty much. That's why that's pretty essential here, to make sure that when you're on a team, your army comps complement each other. You know, here it complements each other perfectly. I feel like before Angel and Rommel were planning on going Redcoat Grenadier, I think. Legion Piranha and Redcoat, but it just didn't work out very good because they didn't have the numbers. Rommel's actually going capital H now with Infanta el Portugal. This essentially gives you the Portuguese, this is the Portuguese marriage of British. It grants them covered wagons, so you get another town center, and it also gives British the same bonus as Portugal, so every Egypt they do from then on is also going to give you a covered wagon. And I believe by the time you get to Imperial Age, you do actually get a build limit of 4 town centers as well, because, you know, it's every age at that point, and you're not going to be able to use covered wagon number 4 unless you have a build limit of, or number 3, I should say, unless you have a build limit of 4 town centers, so they give you that, fortunately. It's not good to assume people are going to just lose their town centers being clowns, you know what I mean? It's good to assume they're actually going to keep their town centers alive and breathing, right? Yeah, definitely. So what's going on with Faringo here, or Angel, or whatever name, taco name he's come up with here? I don't know. Fireman? This is too big of a fire for them to put out, I think. This firefight here. Yep, and they died. Your first responders are down. What are you going to do now? That's a good question, actually. Machitero? Assault? Could be doable, but again, you can't be starting them now. You need to already be making those sorts of things. It's way too late for that stuff. Redcoats? Trying to recover here with redcoats, but not enough numbers. That seems to be the big problem here, is they just don't have the numbers to keep up with this right now. And that's really unfortunate, honestly. Yeah, it's kind of serious, actually. Serenos, the emergency unit. Yeah, basically throw everything you can at them, because you really don't have a lot right now. The thing is Faringo does have resources to make some stuff, right? You could get some Legion Piranhas here, you could get some Paneros, but once those resources go dry, I don't know where you go from here, because your town center is going down, and it looks like Faringo's actually going with the Virgin Forest to actually recover that wood quicker, so he can get another town center. It's going to mostly come up to British at this point to provide the defense for the team. And the best way he's going to do that, it looks like, is going with the Household Blue, which is the British Assault Cavalry. So essentially what Assault Cavalry is, for those that don't know, is that in Wars of Liberty there is 2 types of hand cavalry. You got Scout, which is the Hussar, so it's lighter, but it's also faster, and it's better against skirmishers. And then you have Assault, which is a heavier cavalry, has a lot more hit points, usually costs more population, and it's more specialized against heavy infantry. So it tends to always have hand armor, and usually some benefit to make it good against the heavy infantry. Like here, for the Household Blue, it simply does it with just good HP stats. Other times, the heavy cavalry, like the Escolta, will have multipliers against heavy infantry. Some, like the Cuirassier, have splash against infantry, making them good against lines of musketeers. It really depends on what type of unit it is, basically. Yeah. The Household Blues used to have, like, I think 1 splash, and then the devs decide, you know, they already got enough stuff going for them, so they don't really need splash. Especially considering the fact that Household Blues can actually go stealthy. Yeah, did you know that Household Blues can go stealthy, like the Forest Prowlers? They can go stealthy and then just come out of nowhere and just rip up the enemy. Yeah, they can do that, and that was a big problem for a while, was they were using their splash with that, and it was utterly abusive and cancerous to even think about. So the devs just decided, you know, stealthy cavalry is cool, but we have to do something, so let's get rid of the splash. That's the main issue, and I think it's worked out so far. Machiteros from Faringo. Get them over, yep, right, try to get them on top of these volunteers, and then you should probably try to reposition them to go up against Japanese infantry. Yeah, that's the thing. And that's the thing too, is the Machitero was actually another type of assault cavalry, or assault unit. You know, there's mounted assault units like the Household Blue, and there's dismounted ones like the Machitero. Biggest difference is usually just hit points and population cost, and overall resource costs, with the dismounted types of assault and scout units tending to be on the cheaper and weaker side, and the mounted ones being stronger usually. But that's not always the case, you know. there's definitely exceptions to every rule. Certainly. You know, like, there's certainly some dismounted assault units and so forth that would be 2-pop, and then there's obviously the Yulon class of mounted cavalry, which, you know, is a 1-pop unit. So it's not a perfect science, but it's just a general rule of thumb. Japan's holding pretty strong here, though, and they're actually gone up to the industrial age. What's his economy like at this point? So what is he using, too? He's gone with the Golden Pavilion, boosting his range attack. He also has the Shogunate and the Toshugu Shrine. Sask is a pretty solid Japan, if I do say so myself. You know what I mean? He's already... Well, he's already got the Veteran Disciplined upgrade on the Kies. And he's probably not too far from even getting the Guard upgrade on these. He's going to opt to get the paper cartridge first, though, to get general damage improvement for all his ranged gunpowder infantry. And then probably a bit later, he can pick up the Arnold upgrade on the Kies, so they become really MVP level skirmishers here. However, I think either Mandalore needs to go Dragoons like he did in his game against Jeff, because this time it would actually be a really awesome idea, right? In the Jeff game, it was not such a great situation, but here I think going full Dragoon for Mandalore might be awesome. Or potentially Sask could go Yabazume here. It really depends. Like, what does Sask have in his hand? So he doesn't actually have any improvements for his Yabazumes, so maybe just Mandalore going Dragoon would be the good idea here. See, the thing is, Maneuver or like Dragoons, they have ranged multipliers against the Assault class, but not the Scout class. So like, they have a harder time with Hussars, but they have a much easier time with these big, heavy cavalry units. Namely for the multipliers, and also the fact that they only have hand armor usually, so the bullets usually just go straight through them. This is a great defense by, oh no, Sask, you gotta watch out for these things, man. See, what Sask tried to do is he tried to use his Gensui, or his Japanese commander, to deliver his artillery right to the front lines. But the front lines just happened to be surrounded by cavalry, so the cannons were instantly lost. That's split second micro. Yeah. Sometimes micro has to be done instantly, right? You don't have like 3 or 4 seconds to work with. You need to think, and say, oh, wait a second, I'm losing now. I need to make sure I get these artillery back to the town center back home. Either using a hotkey or clicking on the minimap, because if you don't do that, then you lose units for free. And I feel like maybe that was a serious loss for Sask here, and it kind of nullified his fast industrial age a whole lot. That's what I think it did, because essentially what it does is it means that Sask at this point lost one of his more critical FI cards. He can ship it again, though, since he's Japan, and, you know, unit cards can be shipped twice, but it's just the point, you know. You don't want to give up stuff like that easily. He could also get Veteran Battery later to make his canals cheaper overall if he wanted to train them himself. But if you're playing smartly here, I think you don't have to get to that point. You can just sort of work with Mandalore and get the job done a lot sooner. Yeah, we're starting to see the same situation as we did in the Jeff game with Mandalore. He's just going full German Dragoons here as a countermeasure to assault. He's also going with a lot of skirms and shuts, both skirmish units. With the shuts obviously having the stats of the Jaeger, it's going to be much better against infantry, right? 40% pierce armor, the range damage of an Imperial skirm, much better. And what's his Sask doing? Is Sask going to be able to resupply here? So, looks like Sask has his barracks right by this mine over here, so he's going to have a bit of walking to do. Same thing sort of for Germany, technically. But they do need to make sure they ride out together here. The only thing you should really be doing now is Germany is trying to kite the household blues of Rommel as best as you can. That'd probably be your best shot here. Yeah, like, yeah, try to make sure that your Dragoons are always targeting one or multiple of the Household Blues, because if they're not, they're gonna get an edge up on you and they're gonna eat through your defenses. Taking out an outpost, that's a pretty big blow. 250 wood structure down. Yeah, maybe, Mandalore could assign a control group for these Dragoons so he can ensure he always gets the proper kiting shots into the assault units. Especially when you have all this infantry here, it can get very daunting and distracting sometimes. And also another thing too that these Dragoons would be great at is defending against Macheteros, since they're also the assault tag. Yeah. Pretty much, I think at this point though, we need Japan to definitely step it up and get an army up here pronto. Because I don't think Mandalore is going to be able to handle this two-thing assault all on its own. Oh, wait a second, what? Oh, it looks like Rommel shipped in his Highlanders here to distract the positioning of the cavalry. Oh, that was kind of tricky, because now you've split the Dragoons off a bit and maybe reduced their efficiency here. However, Japan has arrived with Honored Shiguma, so these are guard level Shiguma, which means they have 50% more stats than they started out with at the start of the game, making them a much more formidable threat. Shiguma seem to be holding the line right now, but Germany is forced to fall back and try to avoid the hand attacks of both assault Macheteros and the Household Blues. Can the Honored Shigumas deal with dry Macheteros? Looks like maybe. Yeah, Macheteros are going down. But what about the Household Blues? One is taken out, but there's still some left on the field. Yeah, that's kind of unfortunate. See, the thing is with British, they can actually get infinite shipments of Household Blues, I think in both Age 3 and 4. So even if you don't have resources to constantly queue up additional Household Blues, you can just ship them in at your leisure, as long as you have those cards in your deck. That's exactly what Rommel is doing. Like, see, this is infinite 3 Household Blues, and he can keep calling this again and again and again, ensuring he always has a heavy cavalry unit to mount the frontal assault with. And at this point, Angel's on the back pedal, so all he can really do is just support with a big spam of Macheteros, you know. Not the best unit, but it'll do. If used in the right place, it can wipe out some of Japan's infantry, or just disrupt the skirmishers. But obviously, it's going to be shredded up pretty quickly without upgrades, you know, especially with Dragoons there. Basically, it all comes down to Rommel to be the main killing force here. It's going to come down to what his Household Blues, backed up by Green Jackets, can do. Green Jacket and Household Blue together are a formidable duo. That's what I had to deal with in the Wars of Liberty League. Remember when I was Paraguay? I had to deal with all these heavy cavalry units, and that's back when they had the splash attack, combined with a really decent skirmish unit. The annoying thing of the Green Jackets in particular is they have really strong multipliers against the maneuver class. So, as many Dragoons that Mandalore makes, you know, there's a good chance that Rommel might just kill them quicker because of the overall solid multipliers on the Green Jackets. What do we got here? We got Dragoons going for raiding. Is that right? Yeah, look at that. Very interesting. Actually getting some casualties. Brutal. I don't know at this point. Is it actually better to go melee with Dragoons against assault units now, since these ones don't have splash anymore? I don't know. It could totally be possible here. I think it got... who was that beneficial for? The villagers? Was it beneficial for Mandalore getting away, or did it push Mandalore in for taking more slashes from him? That's a good question, actually. We have Sask again with another group of his Shiguma Musketeers. Mandalore's Dragoons trying to make a comeback here. Huh. Okay. Yeah, Sask isn't going to be able to make much of a push on his own, though. He's going to need Mandalore's help to bring the firepower, as they say. You know, he can do... Oh, yeah, Cuirassier. Yeah, Germany gets access to that, so they can use that. Yeah, in the Legacy game, Cuirassier was a French unique unit, but in this mod, Wars of Liberty, a lot of European civs have it as a common unit. So France gets it, Spain gets it, Germany gets it, Danish get it, Italians get it, you name it. Dutch used to get it, and then their roster got reworked into something different. Oh, so Rommel resigned, capitulated, and then Varingo probably will any moment. Looks like he capitulated. Yeah, without Rommel, Angels will send duck because he was really clobbered when his TC went down. I want to check the post game now and see overall performance-wise how these guys did. Germany, 40k resources. Very predictable with Germany, you know. They get free villagers, right? You can have a total of 20 houses, right? So that means 20 free settlers over the course of, you know, your macro pretty much. Which means you really ramp up a lot quicker in your resources. British, surprisingly, British were behind Japan. Even with covered wagons given additional queues of villagers. It just shows you what an eco powerhouse Japan is with their Toshugu Shrine. Angel obviously the worse off because, well, he got completely clobbered there. If we go military, Rommel was a pretty ferocious fighter with his household blues, not gonna lie. But Germany just provided sufficient numbers, 180 units. Pretty scary. And yeah, looked like Sask was doing performance-wise good with the kills just because he was upgrading. Yeah. Varingo probably the least best off because he was just using dry musketeros for the most part, so not a lot of chance to win in terms of fighting. Yeah, pretty much. And then devs like to look at these graphs as well. So like villager count, Germany, look at this. Look at the exponential growth with all those manor houses. It's crazy. And then when we go to shipments, Germany once again slightly ahead because we're constantly building houses to get those free villagers. So that explains that a little bit. What do you think, though? Do you think this was a decent 2 versus 2? Do you have your own critiques for it? What would you have done if you were Varingo? What would you have done if you were Rommel or Mandalore or Saskir? Like, if you were that Civ, how would you play? Good question. I mean, if you like analyzing this stuff as much as me, I'd love to hear sort of your feedback of the match and what you liked about it, what you didn't like about it, you know. I obviously haven't played in any of these matches before, so, you know, I'm not a component of it, so I can totally look at it from an unbiased standpoint, since, you know, I don't have to sit there and gloat for myself, basically. But yeah, if you like these Wars of Liberty casted games, let me know too. I got more recordings of them in the Discord that have been handed over to me over the end of last week, as well as the whole entire closed beta process for AOM Retold, which for me was a very fun thing to do and stream for you. But yeah, over that time, the budget Juanitos did do a lot of game recordings for me, so I gotta catch up on that stuff. See you in the next game. I'll be signing off now from this one. See you there.